Today I'm joined with a seasoned operator who's built at Google scale and at startup speed, Omi Iyamu. Omi, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Yourself?
I'm doing excellent. And yeah, it's super early here for me. I know you're just ending your day over there in Dubai. That's great. Omi, your background is pretty interesting because I know, I think we've known each other for almost a couple decades now, and I've seen how your journey has gone through time. I know you led AI and ML privacy frameworks. Some of those initiatives at Google. Gen AI companies. You've started ideas, and now you're serving as CTO at Panio. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, excellent. So,
Other thing, but yes.
amongst other things, I'm sure there's a lot of things I'm missing here, but we're gonna try to dissect a little bit into some of these things. So, Omi, just tell me, just for folks who may not be aware of your journey, yeah, how did it all start? Have you always been an entrepreneur? What led you to where you are today?
That's a great question. I mean, the short answer is yes. I've always been a futurist, a technologist, and I've always, been an entrepreneur. Started, even from high school, started random like businesses here and there. I started building tech um, businesses in college. Remember, like a couple of them, none of them did well. Because if they did, I wouldn't be here. But but it was just more like when you learn how to code, so you're like, oh yeah. I was curious to see, oh, what can I do with this, and then building random things like a media player, and a movie player, a virtual DJ and stuff like that. This was all in like second year, third year, time frame. Started working in the tech space around that time as well, and I've just never looked back. I went to my research in grad school was in the AI space, AI and ML space, which over the recent, which has always been relevant, but over the recent 3 to 4 years has become fully mainstream now in the public eye, but it's always been around, and it's always been mostly in the background, but we're now seeing it more in the foreground. Worked in big tech. My first big tech gig was at Microsoft. Left that to start a computer vision company, which morphed into a drone and company. Folded that and joined Google, and the bulk of my career has been. I was on the security and privacy team to start. Formed and led Google's AI privacy program. Joined the Brain team, which is the AI research org where like DeepMind was part of, or DeepMind was part of the Brain team, but now it's kind of like
Hmm.
encompassed the Brain team now. But that's how Office like corporate stuff happened. But yeah, then I left to focus in the blockchain and crypto space for a few years. I did that, and then when the FTX thing happened and crypto went belly up and so many crypto companies died, we put our company on hold, and that's when I went back into the AI space, and I've been in the AI space since then.
Wow, wow, that's quite a breadth of experience, and it's really cool to see how you've kept going, right? You've leveraged a lot of so just out of curiosity. So you've seen AI from research to big tech governance to startup Gen AI products. What has changed in your mental model in terms of what actually matters as you've shifted? I mean, you've also dabbled into blockchain as
Yeah,
well. Yeah, I'm just curious. How are you thinking about this?
that's a great question. So, what has changed in my mind about AI? One is I think the fundamentals are still the same, right? The fundamentals are still the same, at least for me. They haven't really changed, but the capabilities and the access is what has really changed. The main driver for that has been compute.
Hmm.
With the advent of newer compute engines and hardware, really, and dedicated ASICs like the TPU and the one from Amazon and the stuff that the Blackwell chips and whatnot that originally weren't designed for and but kind of like now are what they're fully designed for AI and stuff like that. That's really what has helped increase compute, which is the most necessary thing for training, has enabled and which has enabled the training of larger and larger neural nets, the training of larger and larger like neural net based models, right, means that the knowledge that's encompassed in the end model is a lot more, right, and
Hmm.
the accuracy of the inference and or predictions is also like a lot more accurate, right? And because
Hmm.
of that, the applications and the trust has also like improved, and so it could be used for more and more things. So that's really what has changed.
Yeah.
And the big thing is that because we hit a tipping point, right, that then has now, we're now fully on the other side of that tip where the investing into AI infrastructure is at an all-time high. And so you are seeing companies like NVIDIA come out with new chips multiple times a year now, are coming out with AI dedicated chips and even AI dedicated software. Um, you're seeing companies like Huawei develop their own in-house chips for training and stuff like that. It's all these changes that are enabling the model builders to train more effectively, to train at higher speeds, right?
Hmm.
And turn and the and which in turn reduces the turnaround time for each model. So now we're getting new models that have been
Hmm.
freshly trained, right, year or a few times a year, which just wasn't the case before,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
especially at this scale. They're also scaling up the training. Like in the past 3 years, we went from balking at a 1 million parameter model to now talking about 500 billion parameters. That is exponential growth in training. Do you know
Hmm.
how difficult it is to train at that exponential speed? And it's only capable and it's only possible
Hmm.
because of these new chips that are out there. And because these models are much larger and the knowledge gained and the knowledge stored within them are much better, there's even more applications. Then now we're now seeing applications in healthcare, in science,
Yeah.
in math.
Let's talk more about that. Let's talk more about that because that's interesting. I know you've been heads down building something really cool. And about a couple days ago, you
Yeah, no,
posted something about a grand reveal of your new product you just launched. Tell us about it. What is it? Because this
Panio.
is quite interesting. Yeah.
So I'll give you the back story behind it. So I have three little dogs, and as a pet owner, taking care of their health is one of the most important things that, or if not the most important thing that you have to do. It's like having a child, even though I know that there are many folks that they don't equate the two, but with respect to like taking care of something else that you're fully responsible for their health, or they can't take care of their health on their own, that it is similar in that sense, right? So different applications of health. As I moved to Dubai, the two founders reached out and were embarking on this journey of taking the Panio longevity product into market and developing like inference and more like deep tech like around it to make it like like more a full solution. So after ideating a bit with them, we came up with what we now released. The interesting part, apart from the two main interesting parts about this is that one is
Hmm.
about the product itself, and two is about how we actually got to this point and how we built it. Right? These are two brand new things that just weren't possible before. The product itself is grounded on a lot of pet health research that is embedded into the models that the product uses. But what the product is that is a health product for dogs. So you go in and you can upload like your health data. You can buy tests at in-home tests. We will be offering specialized food and supplements in there as well. So you can you can research the food that you're giving them, but you can research the medications that you're giving them, the conditions that they have, and and most importantly, you can conversate with a health assistant, which acts as a vet. That's not vet, but like a vet assistant to help guide you in making sure that your pet is continuously healthy, that you're feeding them right, that you're getting the right activity.
Hmm.
And all this is grounded, and all the insights and recommendations are grounded in your pet's data and the most cutting edge of research done for dogs. So that's
That's pretty
the
cool. That's pretty cool. That's really is really, really cool. I'm we've got a pet. I'll talk about that in a second, actually, because this is very canine specific for now, right? But just out of curiosity, is this a regulated space? So if you're giving advice about health, are there any guidelines which you're making sure that you're not crossing, or
yeah.
is it okay to just give it based on research and you're good, right?
It is, but it is regulated for humans. It's way less regulated for animals. So if
Okay,
this were a human app, we couldn't use things, we couldn't say things like this is like we couldn't s- we couldn't be pretending to be a doctor because if not we'll get sued. You know, but the we've in building the product, we still take the same level of precaution as if it's humans for in the product itself. But because
hmm,
if one day we do choose to, move on and make this like a human version of this, that we are already like well set in place. We still have all the we still adhere to all the security rules and all that stuff, and so things still work. So short answer, yes, it is, but nowhere near as much as for humans.
okay, got it. Yeah. I would totally use this, like figuring out is this food safe for my pet, you're in the store picking up, treats and things like that, you have a detailed health record and you're able to deduce if this is fine as opposed to like giving the vet a call or whatnot. But I know this is specifically for dogs. We've got a cat. Do you think this will one day extend to other,
You know,
yeah, babies.
I will not rule that out. It's actually one of the most common topics that we have. And the only reason why we picked dogs was because apart from owning dogs, like we had to start somewhere. So think of it more like the Amazon model. They started in books and slowly branched out into other things. I'm not saying that we're going to do the exact same thing, but that is not off the table.
Got it. Got it. Okay, cool. Hey, Omi, let's switch gears a little bit onto the business side of things. So you've seen from living working in big tech, whether it's Microsoft and Google, you've entered into this startup world, ran a few businesses and startups. What does a typical day look like for you today? So as CT, bring us into your world and give us a sort of yeah. Go ahead, please.
I'll tell you this, my day has changed. Now, most people say, but your day just depends and whatnot. But I'll tell you, today, my day is mostly me like coding, like a regular developer. That's what most of my day looks like. And that's because we're actively building and we're a tiny team of just like me as the engineer.
Hmm.
we're hiring, but we're hiring three more and engineers right now. But
Hmm.
as a founder, even though I'm not a founder here, but like as a working on something from the ground up, from 0 to 1, you are literally working in it. Like, so
Hmm.
you don't,
Hmm.
you know, there's no, like you have direct reports and trying to coordinate all that. That actually slows you down.
Hmm.
We need all hands on deck. Everybody needs to be building, or doing
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
If you
Hmm.
can't build, do something else. Work on the go and to market, work on building hype, work on marketing, work on all that stuff. Like, but you
Hmm.
are literally working in it, because nobody else is gonna do that for
No
you.
one's coming to save you.
Yeah, no one's coming to save you. You have to do it yourself. So that being said, I have founded a couple companies over the years. But the truth is that, like, everything, there are different aspects that are needed to make a company successful. However, all those aspects are not needed in the same level at the same time, right? Things shift. So at the start is mostly planning and ideating and talking to customers and doing all of that stuff, right? Then you shift into build mode where you're building an MVP and all that stuff. Right. Once your MVP is built, it's not like you're going to then continue building. You really shouldn't, right? And I think
Hmm. Hmm.
that's a mistake that a lot of founders do. Is like they built the MVP and then now they are filling up their backlog with new features and stuff that they're going to add onto it. Oh, like, stop, take a breather, and see how the MVP does. Focus on collecting data.
Data.
Focusing
Yeah.
on analyzing usage, focusing on analyzing just sheer interest and viability, right? What I advise folks is that, like, you should be more, there is what you should be doing is, rather than creating a backlog of ideas to add onto it, you should be analyzing the data and the usage to try and find the things that you've already built that you should remove from the product. No, don't add on to
That's
it.
much harder. That's much harder, right?
Harder
It's
to do, because
like
I bet
eliminating
you,
and removing.
yeah, I bet you there are always things that you should actually be and move, right? Because what you really want to do after you push the first thing out is get to the point, is reduce the product to the point where it's only the things that are valuable to the user that is what is there. It's only
Hmm.
the things
Hmm.
that are valuable to the user that is what is left there, right? And if there's nothing that is valuable to the user, you shouldn't add more things. You should go back to the drawing board, push something
Hmm.
else out, go back to
Hmm.
the drawing
Hmm.
board,
Hmm.
pivot, change some things, and push something else out. Try again until you get to the point whereby there's some interest. And then you try to look deeper. I say, okay, well, what really is the interest here? They like the chat feed feature. Let's double down on that. Let's add more to that and see what sticks and what doesn't stick. That's how you grow a product and remove other things. As you're removing things that don't resonate, you're adding more. You're adding things that might resonate. That's how you're going
Yeah.
about it. Like,
So
if your product doesn't work for users at the start, adding more things is not going to make it better. So
so what do you look at in terms of like how things are going? Being CTO, there's different things you're looking at, but what would you say are your top two
the metrics,
metrics that you
yeah,
that you care about the most?
metrics change. So I'll give you a playbook for this. When you first launch, you've done 0 to 1, and you launch your MVP. For the first
Hmm.
6 to 8 weeks, the only metrics that you should be concerned about are is the main metrics are the conversion from impressions, right, to actual, like, account creation. So that flow there, the, like, from impression, from a user seeing the what the seeing the product to them, if it's a mobile app, to them downloading, and then from downloading to account creation. Downloading to account creation should be about the same. For web apps, it's just from seeing to account creation. You should be concerned about that. The second flow is from
Hmm.
account creation to activity. Now you need to decide, every product is going to be different. What does decide what an active user really means? Like what events, what actions does the user need to take for them to be active, for them to be
Hmm.
daily active, for them to be weekly active? You don't care about monthly active yet, right? But it's just daily and weekly, right? One
And
of
that
the things
depends
that
on it. It depends
on the
on the
product,
level of engagement. It depends on product. Yeah, yeah. For
it
you,
depends on the product. Yeah,
is it a weekly? Would you say weekly active user usage is
weekly
more
active,
important? Okay.
because we are a health product. We don't expect that a user is going to use us every single day.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know,
It's
we
not
would like
realistic.
that. It's not realistic, right? We're more likely to use us a few times a month, so weekly active, right?
Hmm.
Now, for a social media app, if you launch like a TikTok, you should expect daily active users, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
For a
Well,
banking app, it should be monthly active because nobody's checking their bank every single day or every single, except if they are waiting for money to come in, you know.
yeah, that's different. That's different. And so for the first metric you mentioned, that one's a little bit tricky because when you're talking about conversion and converting first time users, it's with the first impression that people get sometimes. Well, first of all, do you run ads today?
No, you shouldn't run ads
Okay.
to start.
Okay, good. Okay.
Here's
I
why.
just, that was just, yeah, tell me why, please.
The reason why you shouldn't run ads to start is because ads is a growth engine. Think of ads as gasoline for a fire. That makes sense? Like you
Hmm.
throw
Hmm.
ads at a fire that's already there to blow it up. But
Hmm.
if there is no fire, you're wasting money on ads.
Hmm.
Let there be some fire. So it's for increasing growth, right? Now, the reason why you don't want to do ads to start is because you actually also, one of the things that you're also trying to vet with your MVP is also the customer profile. Because until you launch, you've done like customer archetypes. You've done who your targets like
Hmm.
customers are. But even
Hmm.
that is an assumption. Even that is an assumption, and all assumptions need to be proven. You know, they need to be vetted. So as you launch, you want to see, are these people that we think are
Hmm.
the people that would use this? Are they actually the ones coming in and downloading and using it?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
many times
Yeah.
founders forget that piece.
Hmm.
Because of that, you shouldn't run ads, because ads, you need to target somebody. But until you have
Yes.
vetted that that is actually the target, you don't have the data, you know?
Hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah. And would you say,
You
would you,
want to try and figure out to vet it. You shouldn't. Anyway, but go on.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So in terms of your acquisition funnel, like what does that look like today? So when is the first time a user sees Panio
So
typically?
even though you don't do ads, you still should do marketing, there are other marketing campaigns that you can do that are not ads. For instance, and the most dominant one now, which you absolutely should do, is social. It is V1 for you to always start every app, every product that you build, to vet your MVP, go social. The way that you do that is that you look to partner with the people who have that audience already. Now, this is where the pre-work could have come in. So as you're building, your co-founder should actually be building up that community by doing blogs, by doing events and whatnot, building up that proposed community that we think are going to use this product. So when you launch,
Hmm.
you're not launching to an empty state, to an empty place, right? You have
Hmm.
people that you think that you have curated already that should jump on. And that will be your
Mhm,
very
mhm,
first, that should be, if done right, that should be your very first test. If you have a
mhm.
thousand folks that have been listening to your podcast and being on like your like blog and like follow you on like Instagram and comment on your posts on LinkedIn and doing all that stuff, and you launch a thing that you think is directed directly to them, and 1% of them actually convert, yeah, then you know, maybe this is, maybe they're not the ones that this is meant for, or maybe there's something wrong.
Would you call that's distribution, right? Like getting your distribution right, or is that slightly different? Because you're still
It's not.
leveraging certain platforms, right? Sorry, carry
Yeah,
on.
it's part of distribution, but it's your go to market, the beginning of your go to market funnel.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
Interesting. And people talk about product market fit as well. Where would you say you're at right now?
oh, we just launched. We're nowhere near that. We're
Yeah,
nowhere
yeah,
near that.
yeah.
Product market fit doesn't come for a long time, and don't let anybody fool you. Like if you launch a product today, 9% of the time you're not going to hit product market fit for another like year or two. That's the truth.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
That's just the
mhm.
truth.
Yeah, that's the
There is
reality of
no
things.
there is no like point that says, okay, we are at product market fit, right? There is a situation that happens with the business that validates that you are at product market fit. Like you've already, there's no like, oh, this is the door. If I do this thing, then then I've entered the door. It is more like you are going to, when you've passed product market fit, you're gonna just know things are gonna,
You know. Yeah.
yeah, you will know. If you're questioning whether you're at product market fit or not, you're probably not. That's the truth. That's it. You're not there. You
That's
know,
a litmus test, is it? Yeah. Okay.
if you're questioning it, you're probably not there. You know, I'll
Yeah.
tell you this. So before this, there is a milestone that people don't often talk about that comes before product market fit, which is problem solution fit, right?
Mm.
So the very first thing that you need to try and achieve with your MVP is problem solution fit. So the
So
problem
what
that your
is?
MVP is trying to solve, that your actual MVP solves it. Does that make sense?
Mhm, mhm,
If the problem that your MVP is trying to solve, for the solution that you have, which is your MVP, which is your product, actually solves it, then you're at product solution fit, right? And you figure this out from the feedback that you're getting from users, from their engagement, in the product. If you're having high engagement from your active user, chances are you're a problem solution fit, right? If
mhm,
you are,
mhm,
so from there, that product that's now came from product solution fit, you then take that product and try and grow it in the markets, in the specific markets where people that have that problem
mhm,
are, right?
mhm,
And it's when you have it there, because if that problem solves, if you do the marketing right, you put it in the right market with a bunch of people that have that problem, right? You should see growth. And when you see
mhm,
that growth, when you find that specific position in the market, right?
mhm.
Then you should hit product market fit. That
Market
makes
fit.
sense?
Yeah,
If your
I
product
really love
doesn't
your
solve a
position.
solution, if your product
Then
doesn't solve the solution, it's never going to hit product market fit because it's not
mhm,
solving
mhm.
anything for that
You're not
market.
solving anything.
That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. That totally makes sense. So, just out of curiosity, what would you say? So, you talked about the metrics, the things you look out for, and really like your analogy with regards to yeah, talking about PMF, like what is something that needs things that need to happen before. But for you, what would you say keeps you up at night when it comes to growing? Yeah.
The thing that keeps me up at night is that thing that keeps me up at night is that keeps me up at night, man. Honestly, apart from blackouts and stuff, is that there's a fundamental assumption that we have completely missed, and we're moving about as if it's fact because we don't
Mhm,
know that it's an assumption. That is going to kill you every single time. It's going to kill you every single time. If something that really is an assumption, right? Except if that assumption just happens to pan out to be
Mm-hmm,
right.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
If it really is an assumption and you become and you're blind to it, and it's gonna kill you every single time. So that's the
Some people say that is a good mindset to have where you're always like challenging the status quo and like what you already know or what you think
yeah.
is right, right?
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Cool. Cool. This is awesome. Hey, Omi, you've dropped a lot of gems for us today. I do want
Definitely.
to ask you one more though. For
Go
those
ahead, please.
founders who are thinking of delving into, they've got an idea, they've got a use case for AI, whether it's a end product or it's more of an infrastructure side of things. What advice would you give to founders generally before, like, maybe they're still early on in the stage, or they're just about starting? You've been through the 0 to 1 a few times, so yeah, what advice would you have for people in that space?
I love this question, and it's a very common question that I get asked, and I think that people don't talk about this enough. Here's my rubric or cheat sheet or group of advice that you must do if you have an idea and you want to take it to a market, right? The very first thing is you have to identify who your potential customers are. That's the very first thing. It's an idea. Just identify, okay, and who's your potential like customer, right? The second thing is that you have to identify what kind of idea this is. What kind of solution is this? Is this a real like pain? Are we solving a real pain? Or are we solving, is this a nice to have? And you have to be really real with yourself. If it's a nice to have, there are still chances that it's successful, but it's probably not going to be. That's the truth. You have to figure out what the real pain points actually are, which you will figure out once you start diving into great, identifying what the real problem is. Like I said, identifying, it's a process.
Hmm.
It's not that I
Hmm.
figured out a problem and then that's it. No, you figured out what you think is the problem, which then takes me to step 3, which is talk to users. You've identified who the potential users are, right? For the potential people that have this problem, talk to them, right? Find 10 people, 10 people with this problem. If you can't find 10 people that potentially have this problem, don't do anything. Don't go further until you find 10 people. Because if you can't find 10 people, then that in of itself is a problem. If you can't figure out 10 people that have a problem that you can talk to, nah, that in of itself is a problem, right? It's either why you can say, oh, but what if I'm trying to solve something that I'm not like, blah 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 blah. And it means that you're probably not the right founder for it. You're probably not the right person to solve it. So again,
Hmm.
problem.
Hmm.
If you're not
Yeah.
the right person to solve it, it's not to say that your idea is going to suck or that your solution won't work, but you wouldn't be successful because you wouldn't be able to get the funding that is required to actually make it successful. Because the very
Hmm.
first thing that VCs are going to bet on is the team, right? Is you. And then when you're trying to raise a pre-seed of 500K, they're going to be like, well, this person that doesn't know anything about farming is trying to build a new tractor. No, you get my point? So like if you
A
can't
hundred
find 10
percent. Yeah.
people, that in of itself is a problem. So you go out to talk to the people. Step 4 is look in the graveyard. There are no new ideas under the sun. You have to believe that. It's a thing that I believe firmly. There are no new ideas under the sun,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So if you believe that, then you should then turn to, if there are no new ideas under the sun, means somebody has thought about this. Any problem that is strong enough, that's worth solving, somebody has thought about it, about how to solve it. So then you now have to figure out who these people are. Where did they go? How is this problem being solved today? Are they still around? Right? Did they die? If they died, why did they die?
Why?
That's called checking the grave, the grave, the grave, the grave, the grave, the graveyard. There's this common idea of like, oh, helping people find the best restaurants in the world. There have been millions of people that have tried it, that have tried that, and every single day there's probably some new person that say, "This is a fantastic idea. We should go out and do this film." Instead of checking, if they do check and check, oh, there have been thousands of people that have tried this and failed. If they look at why they failed, they're like, probably this is a great idea. It's just not like business viable.
Mm-hmm.
Not all great ideas are business viable. So check the graveyard is step 4, right? Check the graveyard. Check the dead bodies. What
I'm
killed
gonna
them?
save that line. It's check the graveyard. It's a really
Yeah,
really good one to remember. Yeah, it's like
find the dead
and the
bodies. Go on,
yeah
go on.
yeah yeah.
And then, so sorry. And then before,
Mm-hmm.
and then after, only after you've done all of that, only after you've done all of that, do you start flushing out the idea to actually build an MVP, a minimum viable product. And in today's time, the way that you should be building your MVP is by listing out all your assumptions. Listing out all your assumptions and figuring out ways of dispelling or validating each of these assumptions. That's what's the purpose of your MVP, is to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
help you identify, dispel, or validate your assumptions. Right? That is the key thing that you're trying to do. Right? That's the key thing that your MVP should help you with. By the time you've done that, then you continue iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate and iterate until you get to V1. And yeah, and then you go. But that's how you
Rocket
should
ship
start
from
off.
there on. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
rocket ship
Once
from
you get
there
the
on.
once you get the foundation is important, right? And you talked about validation as well, checking the graveyard, problem solution fit. These are all like, yeah, great insights. Omi, thanks again for joining us. Super amazing
Pleasure.
gems you shared. Let's keep the conversation going after this.
Yes.
Thanks again, Omi. Have a good one.
All right, Zua.